Good evening, everyone. Paul Offshore Fishing. Matt here coming at you this evening amongst the COVID-19 pandemic going around. Just let everybody know I'm out there, prayers, and we're thinking about everybody. Was going to try to do this as a live stream. However, I wasn't able to um, get the live stream going right now. I believe it's my hardware is a lot older than than the software that it's trying to run. So we're gonna record this and upload it. So it's gonna be semi-live, so to speak. As you can see, I got the screen share going. I'm in the right corner. What we're going to talk about tonight are um, some best fishing practices, or BMPs, best management practices. Um, we're on the South Atlantic Fishing um, Management Council website, as you can see up there in the address bar. It's safmc.net, and we're going to talk about bycatch awareness as far as your red snapper and other offshore bottom fish species. Um, if you go and type in, and I'm going to highlight it here, that right there, it'll bring up this. Um, I wouldn't call it a slideshow, but it is an actual like presentation platform. So it is actually pretty good. It was brought on by the South Atlantic Fisheries Management Council and the South Carolina Wildlife Federation, I believe. Um, so being in North Carolina, we're kind of going off of something that our neighbors to the south put together. We're going to get started. Click the start button. Alright, experience. In this tutorial, you will learn what causes fish to float after that it is released, learn the best fishing practices for snapper grouper species, access additional resources for best fishing practices, and learn how to report your um, use of a descending device. And we'll get into what a descending device is here in a minute. We'll click next. Um, the fish. Talking about red or black sea bass going by. So some good animation here. A gag grouper. The fish include in the guide are part of the snapper grouper complex and include grunts, jacks, and other similar species. Select view guide to access an interactive iNaturalist guide for all the species in the snapper grouper complex. You can download the guide to your smart device to access offline. Now, can you divide? You can do next. I think next takes you to the. Here we go. This is an interactive guide, so to speak. So we got introduction. Introduction. At least at some point, anglers will be faced with returning fish to the water, even the fish are released. Do not. We're talking about our deep bottom dwellers. Even these fish are released and some do not survive. Anglers must use best fishing practices when releasing fish to help increase the fish's uh, chances of survival. Let's learn more on the introduction. Reducing waste, providing fish a fighting chance when returned back to the water will help ensure that the fish will be available to catch again or spawn. I guess you could add that in there. Using best fishing practices reduces waste in the fishery and lead to improved survivalship of released fish. Even a 5% increase in the survivalship would save 100,000 red snapper a year, which is surprising. Next again. How many fish can survive if best fishing practices are used? Use the slider below. And we're waiting on it to load. Interesting that they said 5% reduction of waste. I thought we were going to save 100,000 fish when I think they were trying to keep it with under 75 or no 50,000 fish last year, and they were trying to keep it under that. So let's slider represents the number of fishermen. Let's see, how many fish can the best practice use? Let's let's say if there's 120. Click next. What do we got? Oh, it went back to the beginning. I'm not sure what. Click back. What it's supposed to tell you is, I guess, if 1,000 fishermen release fish, that'll save 4,000 fish down here in the bottom. Um, uh, I gotta hit enter. Oh, this red snapper. Why does it keep coming up with gag? All 4 species. Well, here you go. If 25 of all the 4 species listed, back sea bass, gag, red snapper, and vermilion snapper, if 23,000 fishermen use best fishing practices, it'll save 800,000 fish. Um, at let's say 2 pounds a piece, that's over 1.6 million pounds, I guess. So I mean, that's a huge number for a fishery, and we're talking about the southeast coast on the Atlantic side. So let's pop back to the menu. That's actually pretty surprising. Best fishing practices. Um, we'll talk about the practices for sniper and goose found in similar habitats. After the fish is caught, there are many factors. Once a fish is caught, they can reduce the survival, release the fish, remove the fish sliders. Okay, the hook injury. Hook injury. The fish can become deep hooked, gut hooked, or hooked in the eyes. This can all lead to injury. Federal waters, non-stainless circle hooks are required north of latitude 28. So, being that I'm in 34 from North Carolina, um, that is a requirement. We recommend using non-offset, non-stainless circle hooks. If the hook is difficult to remove, then it can cut the line, release it quickly. The hook will likely rust out, and the fish will recover. Handling time. If think about handling time. How long does it take to remove a hook from fish? How long does it take to get a perfect fishing photo? It is required a hooking tool must be on board. Recommend to keep the fish in the water as much as possible. Have your dehooking tool nearby. Your descending device ready to use. If you take a photo of fish, have your camera ready prior to bringing the fish on board. Air exposure. What happens when air exposed, or a fish is exposed to the air? Gills stick together, gas exchange stops, heart rate slows, blood begins to turn acidic, stress hormones are released. Recommendation: keep the water in the fish. Keep the fish in the water as much as possible. Fish cannot breathe without water. If you take a fish out of water, hold your breath and breathe. When you need to breathe, the fish probably does need to. Injury during release. Injury during release. A fish can be injured while handling. Fish dropped on the deck. Gills injured during handling. Fish injured or dropped during removal of tackle. Recommendation: and reduce the chances of fish include injured by using nets or slings. If bringing the fish on board, land the fish using knotless nets. Use a dehooking tool to remove the hook if the hook is in the mouth. Learn to use proper techniques for descending devices if a fish shows signs of barotrauma. And as you can see, we're going to talk about barotrauma here in a minute. Predation after release. Fish may be exhausted